Hello, I'm Steph from the Canadian Schoolhouse, and I am here with.
Christine from the Canadian Schoolhouse. Hi, everyone.
And we are, one thing I'd like to share is actually where we are in the world, where we are in Canada. Um, and so actually both me and Christine are in Ontario. I am central Ontario. I'm a little bit more north than Christine. And where is it you are? I know GTA.
I'm in Toronto, just right by the 400 and 401, right in the
Oh,
middle.
okay. Nice and busy there.
Yes.
I think one day I always think in my head, I should just like drive up and go visit Christine sometime. We've never actually seen each other
In person.
like touchable face to face. We've seen each other in meetings and of course the lives we do together. But I always think that. So except when I think of driving to Toronto, I'm like, oh, like I always like to avoid Toronto. I like to avoid the 401 when I can. So I might force you to come up this way, or at least like a remote little point. We'll do like a halfway point and find out where we meet. And so today we actually even have somebody else on, and is he in Ontario as well?
He's in Ontario as well. Yes.
Right. Right. So today
north. Yeah.
Okay. So today we are talking about graduating from homeschool and especially going into colleges or universities, because that is one of the things I see most commonly on that comes up again and again, and it's a warranted concern. Do we limit our kids because we choose to educate them ourselves? We think this, transcript, this piece of paper from a school board, a school is like so important and vital, but actually, colleges and universities especially nowadays, are actually almost vying for those college kids for those homeschooler kids, because they tend to do better in that college and university environment. Let's say they tend to do better in individual learning, which is really what college and university kind of bumps you up to, whether you're in high or whether you're in like a public school system or even like a private school, but anyway, you got a lot less individual learning because big groups are being taught, right? Like certainly lots of kids going through public education can have that inner drive to learn individually, but it's not the common way. So we have today an interview that Christine did a couple of days ago. I think it was on the weekend. Was it on Saturday? You actually talked to Joel?
Yes.
So they had a conversation, and she has recorded this, and we're just going to start off. So he's from Ontario. I'll let him tell the story, but he just had a plan, and he knew, what he wanted to do in those later years of high school, and he did the homeschool all the way through. So let's just pop right to that video and hear what Joel has to say about his graduating experience.
All right.
Thank you for having me on. As you said, my name is Joel, and I've been homeschooled from kindergarten through grade 13. So, I went on from there to Georgian College, from which I graduated, and, well, here I am.
Now, so grade 13, because we don't technically have grade 13 anymore. That was, did you have any special courses specifically for that? Or you just continued?
Not really. I just continued. I was nervous about the transition from from homeschool to college. So I wanted to make really sure, especially in the English department, that was my weaker subject, that I was ready. So an extra year to prepare, more comfort going into transitioning into the system.
Of course. So did you do, did you consider those grade 13 courses preparation for going into college?
I would say.
Yeah. And so tell us a bit about the process. Like, how did you, what was involved in getting into Georgian College? Because usually you would have, there's a different process for those who go through the public school system. So tell us a bit about what that looks like.
Yeah, well, we looked at a couple colleges when I was trying to figure out where I want to go, but Georgian College, they required 2 exams to be written.
Okay.
An English exam for everybody who would be admitted, and for the particular course I was going into, math exam as well.
Okay.
So pass the tests, you're in, essentially.
So what was the course that you took?
It was
That's okay.
environmental. I should have said that first.
That's okay.
Uh, it was environmental technology, a
Nice.
advanced diploma course. So
All
dealing
right.
mostly with water, water treatment, wastewater.
Awesome. Awesome. So, so definitely you needed to make sure you could pass the English and math exam for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, and how long was that course?
It was 3 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, with 3 co-op sessions. So, yeah.
Nice. And so while you were going through the learning process, did you find that you were comfortable in that sort of setting? Because this was much different from learning at home with your parents as your teachers. You know, this was a little bit different. Did you feel out of your comfort zone, or were you able to just go through it? And
It was a growth experience, especially in the first year. I am very glad the first year was a bit easier, academically speaking, because it just took a little bit, it just took some adjustments to go from homeschooling and that style to being in a classroom setting. And
yes,
yes, passing, doing group assignments, especially, that was a new experience.
yes, working with others. Yeah,
Yeah, so there was a growth that was needed there for sure, but it was made easier. I took a course through the college before starting my program,
okay.
a 2-week course to just kind of prepare you for college life.
What was the name of that course? And that was at Georgian College or somewhere
Yeah,
else?
I
Yeah.
believe, if my memory serves me correctly, it was lifestyle management.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was basically a 2-week course that ran before the semester, and it included dorm and all that kind of stuff. And
Nice.
yeah, basically got you orientated and around the campus and used to campus life and what it was like studying and taking classes and college setting. So that was good.
Oh, that's
That was,
great to know. I didn't know something
yeah,
like that existed out there, so that's good to know.
yeah.
And so you graduated, and so and you're working now. So what is your job right now?
Right now, I'm working as an assistant pump setter help. So um, basically, I pull pumps from municipal drinking water wells and overhaul them, clean them up, send them back in, and rehabilitate the well if needed to keep water production going. So.
Nice. That sounds very important. So I'm glad you went through that process and you're doing that job. Thank you so much.
Well,
And so now that you've gone through this process, is there any sort of advice that you would give? So the reason why we're doing this interview is that we want to encourage parents out there who are worried about sending their kids or being able to actually send their kids to college or university, and we want to encourage them that it is possible, and you are a case example that it is a successful process to go through. So do you have any advice just to encourage our parents out there?
I would say keep your options open. I mean, there are many different ways that colleges will have to accept homeschoolers in. And I think indeed there are a lot of colleges that are starting to want homeschoolers because of the higher caliber of education and such. Um, they may just have different requirements, entrance requirements. Like Georgian College, you wrote one or two tests to get in, but other colleges, you might have to write a GED, but don't be afraid of it, I'd say. Just figure out uh, what you want to do in life and pick a handful of colleges and just that offer the course and the courses you need, and just figure out what you need to do to get in. And I'm sure that they'll be accommodating. I know
Yeah.
they were for me. There are a few that I looked into, and they're all quite optimistic.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you have any other thoughts that you might want to share? Just, even with your homeschooling background, did you feel like you had an advantage at some point that, I know you were mentioning the higher caliber of learning, so that was
Yeah,
great.
I yeah, no, I was rather shocked actually when I started into my actual college studies after the preparatory program. How far ahead I was of of a lot. I'm not going to say everybody. I don't want to sound too stuck up, but uh, I was over prepared by far,
Okay. Yeah.
um,
Which is a good thing.
which is a good thing.
As long as
There,
you know.
yeah, there are a few classes there, like when I went into a math class and such, where I felt like my mind is going to melt because the course
Caseload.
materials were
Yeah.
quite far down there.
Yeah.
But it is probably different for university, and I'm sure
True.
colleges differ as well. But uh, you don't necessarily have to be like a grade A student with calculus and all that to get into college, because chances are a lot of the people who you'll be studying with from the school system aren't going to have that. So,
Hmm. It's true. Yeah.
and everyone ends up getting taught at the same level based on the average needs of the class. So,
Yeah. And I think just from what I remember, I mean, I went through the public education system and went through the process, but mine was a little bit different because I did my high school abroad, and so I still had to do an entry exam going into college, even though I had the papers, just they weren't from Ontario, which is where I'm at and where you're at. But yeah, it's just when you're coming into that setting, everybody's coming in sort of on the same level because they're
yeah,
coming from different places, right? So I think that's an encouragement for homeschoolers that, it's a fresh start for
yeah,
wherever you're coming from. So I think that's encouraging that you don't
yeah,
have to be like everybody else. Everybody's going to be different coming in. So
that's right.
yeah.
The biggest thing is just to get used to the classroom and the group work. And if you can do that, then
I think it cut off there, but he pretty much said, if you can do it, we can do it, you can do it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it was just a little bit short there, but I loved all the points he was making there. And I've previewed this video before, so I've even had that little opportunity to think on it as well. But even as Joel was talking about some of those things, a few things that popped up. One was about that it's, for instance, everybody had to take the English exam, and actually everybody had to take a math exam, right, to get into the course. So there's actually quite a lot of real preparation. Even if you have that official transcript from the Ministry of Education, you still you really still have a lot of work to do to get into, or a lot of preparation to do to get into a college or university. What was it? So Georgian College, right? So it was a college he went to, but
Yes.
I've heard that the process is similar going into university as well. And I think you did you say you did both? Like you've got both into college and university?
I did, yes. Two different
Yeah.
fields,
So did
but
you
yeah.
find that? Yeah. Did you find that you know, and again, you kind of you weren't homeschooled, but just in relation, was that still I mean, that was really still something you had to prepare for,
Yeah.
whatever program you
Yeah,
chose to
and
get
I mean,
into, right? Like,
college and university, they're a little bit different, but they are similar. I mean, you can go directly into university. You don't. At one point, there was the thought that you needed to do college and then university. Like you would
yeah,
do
I
like
had.
one sort of year of college and then go on to university. But that's not the case anymore. You can go directly from high school to
Mhm.
university now and go through the sort of same process.
Okay.
Like there's entry exams.
Mhm.
You know, if you don't have that, I was able to go to university through like with my college papers. So that
Mhm.
process was a little bit easier in that sense. But yeah, it wasn't difficult at all.
Mhm. Uh, I kind of want to highlight a few of the resources that we have just within the old schoolhouse. I think I'm going to point out one thing that he noted there about, for instance, he didn't have to do a GED, but that is the process that some colleges or universities would want to see the GED and see that exam done, which is a general education diploma.
Yes.
Am I getting that right?
Yes.
So we have an article from a homeschooling mom that her daughter took, and if I remember it correctly, I should have reviewed the article more recently. But if I remember it correctly, her one daughter went a different route, and it was her younger daughter that then went through the process to do the GED test. And I've also heard on some comments about doing GED that, oh, that seems like so overwhelming, and it's so, because it is a lot. I mean, the GED is kind of going over every subject, but people that I've actually talked to that's done it, I have a friend that lives not too far from me here, and her son did it a while ago, like 2 years ago. Yes, actually, I remember it was right at the beginning of things being shut down for COVID. So I think he still got in there, but it got shifted when he had to go and write his exam. So this GED, and he said himself, like, oh, it wasn't really that hard to do. Like, he studied for it, right? And there's lots of books. So this article that we have, like post-secondary education without high school credits, that's written by Janet Lassole, and she has done an amazing job of showing the resources, because there's a number of books you get to prepare for it. It's not like you would just go in. And even how, say, a GED is also another popular way for people that have gone to high school. They didn't graduate from high school, so more adults getting a GED because now they've decided, hey, they want to go into, a college or university, and they need that completion. They don't have to go back to high school and finish those credits, right? There's another process to do that. And that's sort of the same thing that the colleges and universities appeal to with high schoolers. There's a different process. All they want to make sure is that you're prepared for the course, right? Otherwise, you're not going to get what you want. And when it comes right down to it, the colleges and universities want everybody to graduate, right? It looks good on them when their courses are graduating students. And if they find out that the course is too hard beforehand, then or that they're not prepared for it, not so much that it's too hard. So if a student finds out that they're not prepared for it beforehand, then it's definitely more what the college or university wants. So what I'm seeing is all these different tests and exams and preparatory work. You kind of do that whether you're in high school, whether you go to the public education system, or even through a private school or the separate school, any kind of just institutionalized education facility doesn't necessarily isn't the only preparation you need. You might know a year ahead, and then you might take specific courses because you know that's going to prepare you. And sure, you have a little check mark on the transcript or X or whatever it is they do. One, I think it's a 1, right? Because it's all on a credit system.
Yep.
So that you have that you're prepared, right? So they're saying more or less, we just want you to be prepared, and that I think is something that homeschoolers are really good on, being prepared, right? So that is something that Joel talked about there. Like he wanted to make sure he was prepared, and just that little bit of well, for him, he talked about that extra year, just getting a few choruses. Sounded like he knew what he wanted to do probably before that final year too. So he was preparing
he did the planning
for that.
ahead. Yeah, exactly.
And that's really the most successful, no matter what education you had before getting into college or university. That is with the most successful students that graduate from those courses, and even more importantly, that you know what you want to do. Sometimes kids are kind of forced from a public school to, not forced, that's not the right word, but they are encouraged to take on that post-secondary education, and then sometimes like, oh, well, I think you're good for this, but you know what, the parents are really, how does somebody really know what, and I know there's all those tests you can do and they're helpful. Certainly you can do them as a homeschooler as well. But those tests, those like aptitude tests or a career test, like I can tell you right now that a lot of those careers, they give you a really wide option, any ones that I've seen or taken myself. And they also got some careers there that for me, seeing what my results were, it's like there's no way half of those careers are anything I'm going to get into, because they just don't interest me, right? Not that they're bad careers, but it's just, that's not at all where my thinking and interests lie. So that was another great thing that Joel really shared about his experience too. He's working in that field, and he's not young. Like, what is he? Late 20s?
Yeah, I would say late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, so he's like, I want to point out that he's been in the work field for a while, and that's still what he went to school for. And I don't know about you, but I've heard of a number of people that went to something, went through school for something, especially right from high school, and it's not really what they wanted to do. It's what they thought they wanted to do at the time, and nothing wrong with that, because I mean, education, even as the focus of as we educate our kids, should be like we're teaching them to learn, right? You're learning to learn, as I tell my kids, right? It's not so much about what you're learning, but let's give your brain that regular exercise that it needs, so that when you really know the stuff you're interested in, you're already going to be equipped with all the skills you need to learn that, however you choose to do that. And there is really is so many different ways to learn what we want to do. And that can change throughout our adulthood. It doesn't mean that, even for Joel's sake, it doesn't mean he has to stay in that profession. He may decide that, oh, it's time to move on to something else. This has been great for, a decade or so, but it's time to do something else now. What was the other? So we have the homeschoolers higher education gateway. That is something that is one of our sites within the old schoolhouse, and pretty much what that is, it's a list of different institutions, different post-secondary, so colleges, universities, but also different things to do with trade. So that is a really great resource there. Even for Canada, I just looked at it the other day, and we had about 9 listings of different colleges and universities in there, and there's a whole bunch for the States, and a whole bunch, a few other countries as well are listed there with their schools as well. But it's all that post-secondary, or as we call it there, the higher education. But on that gateway, so it's a listing, it's a directory of schools you might be interested in, but there's also lots of articles there. I actually got one that I'm sitting, and it's going to get on there soon, that's actually going all about art careers. So we've created a resource that goes through different things. With an interest in the arts, there's so many different things that you can take that to. So we we have kind of profiled a few different careers and what you need for education, why that might be of interest to you and not. So that's not on there yet, but that's going to be part of that article section. And that kind of article, that kind of content is what you'll find in that article section. Preparing for school, preparing for the college life, getting a little bit of career training, do all of that, going to high school and college, and different I think we've got some great things for different online options, and getting and actually getting diplomas and degrees in that. And I mean, that's been popular for a while. It's not great just for homeschoolers, but because we're already really used to that type of education of taking it in your home, it works well for us as well, those kind of programs. So and what is the other and then there's the resources link on the higher education gateway. So when you go there, you'll see at the sidebar, sorry, I'm doing really on a desktop, so there's going to be a menu somewhere if you're looking at it on a smaller device, but on the left side is the articles, the resources, and then the listings, right? The directory of all the different schools. And the resources are actually just different businesses and organizations that help people prepare for that higher education. So that's a really neat section to look at there as well in the higher education gateway. And I want to round up with what's our last resource we were going to share? We're going to share a link.
Yes, a link to Home Educated Students Thrive at Trinity Western University, written by an admissions counselor.
Yeah, so I really I wanted to share that one on here as well. That was written, well, as Christine just said, it was written by an admissions counselor, but she talks about a few situations of different homeschoolers that come in. They even write on there. So Trinity is, well, it's mainly in BC, I believe. But they also do have a few different campuses, and I even noticed, I think they actually had one in Ontario as well. And just depending on what the program is, of course, their satellite campus is not going to necessarily have all their programs, but a Trinity though covers lots of different degrees and diplomas, and it's doing it in a surrounding of a Christian viewpoint, right? So there, but you can do like nursing. I'm pretty sure there's one there. What they have, like aviation, I think was there. They have lots of different degree diplomas. A degree, I think I'm using two different words that are completely different there. Degree programs, that's what I mean, at Trinity Western University. And I really liked how, and I just lost Christine. She was having a bit of technical difficulty before. And I think with her laptop, oh, there she is back again. I thought I maybe lost you for good, Christine, but you just
I think it was an internet. It's the internet's wavering.
Okay. So that article, it was a really great article that they did there, and they did that last year, I think. That one got put on our site that they wrote that up, but it's really nice to see the different just the different little bits of information they share about homeschooling students in that process of having them come into their university. So I want to leave with this one last point that really, it comes to my mind a lot, and it because it is, what we want to do at the old schoolhouse, and especially for Canadians with the Canadian schoolhouse, is we want to encourage you. We want to empower you, might even be the better word I'm looking for right here, that you can educate your own kids. And it's pretty common in the homeschooling world, in the homeschooling families, to not to send their kids to high school because they believe that they don't really are equipped to teach their kids these more difficult subjects that come up in high school. And so one thing I want to point out is that for the most part, even in elementary ages, with my boys who are 10, 13, I don't do a whole lot of teaching. I encourage them, and I keep them on task, and I add a whole bunch of other things to expose them to the things I want them to know about, but also that effort to expose them to things that they're interested in. And I also try to form some of their learning and the work that they're doing around their interests, as much as I can.
Yeah.
And so I also, as they get on to, although I don't have, real official homeschooler ages quite yet, they are high school, or did I just say homeschool? Anyway, I don't have, they're not ready to almost go out on their own. When they get to that stage, I'm going to feel confident, not because I'm a great teacher, because I'm not really. I like to think I'm a very good parent with the help of God, with His
Amen.
Holy Spirit, given me the strength to carry on. But I'm not a great teacher. I don't know all these subjects, but what I do know is I know how to find the curriculum that does that, or I know how to find the programs where people can teach them, where people that are skilled in certain subjects can teach them either from themselves. I mean, I could just go on all the different ways that we can access different curriculum for our kids, because it's as unique as each of the families, really, depending how you want to learn. You can do the real official, you've got a one-on-one teacher and teaching certain subjects that way, and there's so many different ones where you can just, go online and be able to do most of the courses online. I do a little mix of both myself. We did a lot of online stuff at one time, and then I really wanted them to do more off of a screen, right? Sometimes we can let our lives get surrounded by screens. But I wanted to just encourage you, like, if you're whatever stage you're at, that's probably going to come to your mind. It certainly has mine, and I'm sure it has yours, Christine, as well, right? Like, am I going to equip them for whatever they want to do?
That's right.
After I'm done raising them.
Yep.
So I think we can both encourage all of you that may be watching that no matter what our kids want to do, we're gonna be able to equip them, because we're gonna mainly teach them how to learn. We're gonna encourage them to just have that love of learning, right? We want to instill a love of learning so that whatever they want to do, they're going to be able to equip that. Now, do we want to plan, and do we want to, if they know at a certain stage, yeah, I want to go to school for this, and I'm saying they'd have to be like, 16 or 17. I don't think they really know themselves enough until that point, to what they really want to do. But we're going to know how to plan with them, right? We're going to do it with
Exactly.
them. I wrote this little thing down, and I'm actually just going to read it right from here, because I just want to really capture that what I was thinking of. You still get the front row seat. So keeping them at home where they belong instead of sending them to high school, because you think they may do a better job of educating your kids. So if you keep them at home, you will still get the front row seat to seeing your children grow and mature, and you get to live the educational life as a family. And I think that is, for one thing, I think what God has instructed us to do. I certainly find that through reading His Word, and that education should be done as a family. I feel like that's part of what God created the family for. We're raising our kids, and we're raising them in a certain way to have certain values, and that can change from family to family. But what is important is that we want to raise them to be adults that can, just to simply put, like, do the right thing for themselves, do the right thing for all the other people around them, right? And we just want to raise them, and living that educational life with your child, and allowing your child the freedom to be who they are without the restrictions of a institutional education as they're really maturing, is going to always be the best for them. So on that little encouraging note, I hope it encouraged you, and just, share your comments, share your concerns, share your doubts, whether it's in the comments here or in our Facebook group, Homeschooling with the Canadian Schoolhouse. Share those concerns, and not only will we, like me and Christine and anybody else on staff here, but there's, especially in our group, there's so many other homeschoolers that can just share their wisdom with you. So always, if you're having doubts, run it by a group of homeschoolers first about whether you think you're not equipped. And I think you're going to get all kinds of encouragement to be that yes, you are certainly equipped.
You are never alone.
That's it. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. I was just going to say,
well, bye for now. Oh.
bye.